My name's Truman Kain. Sorry, I need to stay close to the mic. My name's Truman Kain. I'm a security analyst at a company called Tabor. We do pen testing, social engineering, that type of thing. So we're a cybersecurity firm, but I do pen testing primarily. And I created this tool framework. It's all about social engineering, and it's called Dragnet. So if you didn't read the abstract, or if you haven't looked into anything about this talk, essentially your social engineering conversions are going to increase while using Dragnet. And I'm going to get into how the tool works and that type of thing, but I'll start off by explaining what I mean by conversions. Conversions basically means that you exploit your target, whether it's you're trying to capture credentials, or maybe you're trying to get your target to download a payload, maybe you're trying to get your target to give you some information over the phone that they shouldn't, or you're trying to gain entry into a physical location. So that's what I'm considering a conversion. I'm going to start with the current states of OSINT, analytics, and social engineering engagements. And after that, we'll get into the tool and we'll watch a quick demo. And again, I kind of want to reiterate here that this is just what I've found from my research. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily the same thing that you think, so it's okay if we don't agree on everything. These are just insights that I've kind of taken over time. So OSINT, typically what I see as OSINT is high quality, reliable data that I'm collecting about my target. It's something that I'm trying to use against them, essentially, as an attacker, ethically. And this is something that we can find online. Everyone knows what OSINT is. It's online or publicly available data. And usually when we're capturing this OSINT, it's manual, repetitive, and fleeting when automated. By manual, I mean that you're having to go out, you're having to do the same things over and over again. You're having to, when you do use automation, usually the sites that you're using automation against are ending up changing up their templating over time, so that when you are able to automate things, it's fleeting. That's just what I've seen. So you end up going back to the tried and true manual method of searching through websites to find the OSINT that you think is going to be reliable. You know, sometimes when you are targeting a specific type of person, you can build things into a rhythm, but again, this is something that at this point I think should be automated. So analytics are extremely important. I can't iterate that enough. A lot of huge companies live off analytics. Without them, they wouldn't survive. And it's because every decision they make is based off of data. Any wrong decision can lead to huge drop in market share. And so I believe that the little guy should be looking at analytics as well. And I think it would surprise everyone just how extremely detailed level of insights that you can gain by looking at analytics. So if you look at Facebook, for example, they're constantly testing thousands of versions of the site at any one time. So they're split testing to the extreme. They're using analytics to see what ends up getting pushed to the master repo, if you will. So Amazon, Facebook, any huge company like that, that's their bread and butter, is essentially analytics. Although to the end consumer, it may not seem that way. This isn't to kind of drive that home. Is a quote by Jeff Bezos from 1997. He says, 3 years ago, I was working at a quantitative hedge fund when I came across a startling statistic. I was tempted to read that in the Jeff Bezos voice, but I don't need my Amazon account blocked. So this is why he started Amazon. He saw how quickly consumers were moving online. It's what caused him to leave a job where I'm sure he was doing very well to start a company that I'm sure a lot of people didn't think was going to work out, but the statistics are what sold him. So when I look around, I don't get the feeling that you guys are going to go home and jump on Google Analytics right away. So I also get the feeling many of you may not be gamers, so that's okay. For those of you who do take Jeff's quote to heart, the data is already out there. It's usually already being collected, and all it takes is you to jump into a dashboard and start digging into it. Again, that goes back to the manual thing, and that's hopefully where a framework like this can make things a little bit easier for you. So this is the current state of social engineering engagements. You get to choose one: effective, quick, or inexpensive. So I'm generalizing a little bit, but the companies with the big budgets are the only ones getting social engineering pen testing for the most part. You'll get smaller companies that really understand the importance, and maybe they are very protective over their IP to the point where they can justify the cost. Or if you go the inexpensive route, you're essentially not getting anything that's going to be effective or quick. Speaking of quick, I wanted to bring this up. I forgot at the beginning. I don't know if you guys have heard of scope creep, but I found out a new term. I discovered a new term called submission creep. It's when you submit a framework idea to a conference like GrrCON, and they start asking questions about the tool, and every answer you give is the answer that you think will get your talk accepted. And it turns into an extremely huge project. But that's what Dragnet is. So I spoke at DEF CON last month. I pushed the first commit to the repo. It's just the front end right now, and later today I'm hoping to push the admin server. But yeah, this has been an awesome experience, so I just wanted to say that. I recommend submission creep to everyone. So that was the current state of social engineering engagements. I needed to throw in a picture of Zuck somewhere in here. So what can we do knowing that? So Dragnet essentially is going to make OSINT, automation, and machine learning a little bit easier, and hopefully tie that all into a social engineering framework. It is open source. It will continue to be open source because, one, I'm sure there are plenty of people in here that would be able to look at my code and just like tear it to pieces and build a masterpiece out of it. And two, because I feel that for all those three reasons I said previously, everyone should have access to this. The little guys should be able to run social engineering engagements that are effective and that would create the results that an expensive pen test would. Here's the stack essentially for Dragnet. TensorFlow for machine learning, Firebase for the backend, it's a NoSQL database, and Vue.js for the front end. It's a JavaScript framework. Asterisk and Flask are also utilized. Although we're switching to Node, everything's kind of fluid, so I'm kind of open to anything if anyone has ideas. So the Dragnet OSINT, the way this works essentially is that you're going to import your targets and keep your hands near the wheel. So you're going to drag and drop in a CSV, and aside from having someone with the same name at the same company and potentially in the same city, that's pretty much going to be it. OSINT is going to begin. Right now, we're currently only doing LinkedIn. That's going to quickly change to Facebook, Intellius, that type of thing. We have Clearbit integration as well. So any of the lead enrichment services, those would be extremely easy to tie in. So I definitely see that happening in the future. So I'm still struggling to fully understand this part here, but essentially the way the Dragnet machine learning works is that you're taking conversion data from prior engagements. So let's say that you've sent out a bunch of pen testing emails. You have a CSV that has a list of email addresses. It has or a column of email addresses, another column where you have the ID or the name of the template that you sent them, say Amazon wish list item or unusual login detected, something like that. And then you have the result of that in the next column. Maybe it's 0 for reported, 0.5 for opened, and 1 for exploited. So you have a 0 to 1 number in that third column that's going to indicate the result. You load that in. Dragnet's going to start OSINT on those email addresses if it hasn't already, if they're not already in the database. It collects data points about them, and it knows the result. You have the template in the database. The template has tags. This is where it gets crazy. And then when you drag in new targets on a new engagement, the OSINT is collected on them. The data points are correlated against the data points of your previous targets, and a recommendation is made on the template that should be sent to the new target that they're most likely to be exploited for. Again, I'm still trying to wrap my head around all that and make it all work, so extremely happy to talk to anyone who's like a machine learning expert. That would be very nice. So tag your templates, import prior conversion data, and then say your prayers. Okay, let's look at the demo. Let's see. Okay, so here we have the engagements dashboard. It's going to show your upcoming, in progress, and completed engagements. Here we have our Pied Piper, Hooli, and Bream Hall clients. We can filter to look at only those that are in progress, completed, etc. We can start a new engagement, enter in a company that's already existing, or create a new one. Choose our test type. Right now, when we push this live, it just has phishing and vishing, physical, very soon to follow. We can choose our start date and end date. These guys go hard, so we're going to test them on the weekend. And here we see a list of targets that we've already imported or ran a test on for Pied Piper. So those are already here, and we can drag in a CSV with some new clients. It will diff and add the new clients. And then we can choose, do we want to test them for phishing and vishing? Do we want to test them at all? And so for Guilfoyle, I just want to send him an email. Jared, I'm scared of, so I'm not going to test him at all. Big Head is too easy. And let's see here. This is pre-recorded, so I have to kind of talk at the... Alright, so once we save this, OSINT is going to kick off. I may change that to say, like, are you sure you want to, like, potentially do something illegal here? Okay, so here we see that the recommendations have already been made. The model is pre-trained, and each time a conversion happens, each time any result happens, someone reports an email and it bounces back to our server to let us know. Someone opens a website, clicks on an email, anything like that. It's going to come back to our server, and it's going to retrain the model. So you're constantly getting the most accurate data. And after that happens, the recommendation is usually relatively quick. So let's see what we have here. We have Crypto Tracker Unusual Sign-In for Guilfoyle. Dinesh has a Tesla pre-order launch email and a follow-up call. Those templates are linked, so you can link calls and emails. And it looks like for Jin Yang, we have action required. So let's see what that means. So this is kind of what I was talking about earlier with the hands near the wheel. So we need to pick who is Jin Yang. Maybe we know, maybe we don't, but if we mess this up, it could skew the model that we're training to give recommendations on. Because let's say that we choose the wrong Jin Yang, she's exploited, it just throws things off because now someone with different data points is running against a model. So now we see that we have a business loan approval and loan follow-up call for Jin Yang, and we start our engagement. So here on the right, we see that we have email scheduled for a couple of them, and we have sending email for a few. And this is because when you're creating your template, you can choose whether or not it should be sent as soon as you start the engagement, or on a certain time of day, on a certain day, and a certain time of that day. And it looks like we got a pop-up. Jin Yang just opened our email. Would we like to vish him now? So sometimes it makes sense to follow up with a call right away. We can say yes. And we're brought to an attack screen. So this has our script template that was chosen. It has a mini dossier on the right. The target's name is templated into the script, and we have a mini attack log on the right. And this is again just a log for this specific attack. So when we're ready to, we even have gender pronouns. When we're ready to place the call, we can. And let's hope that the demo audio works here. Okay. So it's calling my attack phone, and then once I pick up, it's calling Jin Yang with the mask number that we set in the template when we were creating it.
Richard, you are ugly.
So I guess Jin Yang was onto us. He didn't buy it. And we get a pop-up right away that asks, did we get the goods? Vuln, not vuln, or voicemail. We know Jin Yang is not vuln. If we put voicemail, it would kind of send him back to the queue so that we can call him again later. We see that the attack log was updated with unsuccessful. If we want to play the call, we can to play that back. It's going to take a few minutes up to a few minutes in real time for that to happen, but essentially
you are ugly.
This is happening with asterisk on the back end on an admin server, sending that into Firebase storage. So if we go back to our engagement, we can see that we have call unsuccessful on the right for Jin Yang, but we have creds captured for Monica. So we can click into that part of the attack, and we can see that the email that was sent, we can see the credentials captured. We can see again a mini dossier for Monica, and the attack log on the right showing creds. Now, I also want to remind you guys that when you're creating a client, excuse me, you'll be able to say whether or not you're allowed to record for that client. If you're not, calls will not be recorded. If we click on the email or the link in the email, we see that this is not LinkedIn, it is LinkedIn. And so this again is using Firebase. Okay, so we click into her dossier and we get a full, essentially it's a bigger view. The only difference is that we see suggested attacks on the right and we see a full target history on the right as well. So it's not just for that attack. It's also when she was added to a certain client, when certain templates were suggested to her, and once a template's been suggested to a client, you're usually not going to want to send them the same email again. Sometimes you do. You want to see if they'll fall for the same thing twice, but usually you're going to want to send them new stuff. So there will be a kind of a history there as well. So most of this stuff is happening pretty fast as far as when people click on emails, when people open a website or enter in creds. It's usually going to be able to see it bounce back pretty fast. So I'm a fan of Firebase, although I know some people may not be, and that's totally okay. That's why it's open source. So that's it for the demo. Okay, so what's next? Ringless voicemail drops I think would be really cool. That's going to be once we have inbound calling set up so that people calling back will be able to get to us by calling the mask number. It's not hard to implement, but I'm still kind of working out the infrastructure and how we want to set up the distributed factor, and that kind of hits on the third point. Individual targeting is cool, although I'm trying to keep bad actors, real bad actors, from using this tool. That's kind of why I'm not releasing some pre-trained model with prior conversion data for our clients. This is if you don't have that prior conversion data, it's going to be kind of harder for you. If you're a spammer that sent millions of emails, this definitely would be an extremely valuable tool for you. But it's also a plus side of using Firebase is that essentially Google is going to owns Firebase. So with that said, I know that's a double-edged sword there, but native mobile I think would be really cool. That would have to you'd have to have a developer account. I don't see Apple approving this in the App Store. And again, distributed phishing, so that you have a team, you can bounce calls inbound or outbound to the phone or the desktop client of your choice. Your request here. So this is a really big one. This is on GitHub. I'm not one of those people that's just going to ask you to submit a pull request for everything. I will do the work. This is a learning process for me on pretty much all of this whole thing. I had to figure out I had not done VoIP, anything like that, machine learning, any of that stuff beforehand. So that's been a bit of a struggle. It'd probably be faster for you to do a pull request, but I'm happy to do it. So I not just little enhancements or issues either, like huge feature requests, please add them in. And if the community thinks that that's a good idea, I'll do it. I'll start working on it. I'm happy to, and I would appreciate any feedback as well. So please submit issues, comments, anything like that. Thank you very much, guys. If you have any questions, let me know. I know this was kind of quick. I know it's a 30-minute talk, I think, but happy to answer questions as well. Thank you, guys.